Occupy Toronto is spared eviction for now.
Humber College has been named one of the top employers in the GTA. Humber News starts now.
Hello, it's Wednesday, November 16th. Welcome to Humber News, coming to you from the Broadcast Center here at the North Campus. I'm Caitlin DeCary. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Dino Pasalic. Ahead on our show, we have all your news, sports, and entertainment highlights, as well as your 5-day weather forecast. But first, Caitlin has our top story.
Occupy Toronto protesters are celebrating the temporary postponement of their eviction. After a month of camping at St. James Park, the city issued eviction notices, which were later overturned by a judge. Humber News reporter Catherine DeVeris was at Occupy Toronto last night as they celebrated.
There was strong union support at St. James Park last night as the threat of eviction was still fresh in the minds of Occupy Toronto protesters. The Steelworkers Union and CUPE had supporters out for their daily General Assembly. Sid Ryan, the president of Ontario Federation of Labour, says these protesters found a new way to get the message across that his union has been fighting for years.
These kids have been raising these issues, the issues they're raising, we've been raising them for the last 3 or 4 decades.
He says it's important for the unions to passively support the movement and its process.
But we're not about to try and take over or integrate in any way. We're simply just here to show support and solidarity, as I say.
Fred Hahn, the provincial vice president of CUPE, says just being there is enough.
You know, I live in Toronto. I support my neighbor's ability to do this, and so I think it's important to physically be here.
With rumors swirling, protesters were preparing for the worst. They had legal aid numbers written on their bodies and war paint on their faces.
Well, we thought that we were going to get shunted out of here tonight, so me and my friend decided we were going to put some war paint on, just to lift our spirits a bit.
Not everyone supporting the movement is camped out. Evan Smith, one of the Occupy Toronto chaplains, comes every Wednesday to spread the word of God.
If Jesus were around today, I'm sure he'd be out here.
The community that has formed at St. James Park will live to see another day, and it's business as usual.
Today marks the 1-month anniversary of the birth of Occupy Toronto, and it has definitely been an eventful day. From the threat of eviction to the judge's injunction, there is one thing for certain. These protesters are here to stay, at least until Friday. Catherine DeVeris, Humber News.
This morning, it was quiet at St. James Park as Occupy Toronto entered day 32. The tent city remained on site, and for occupiers, life goes back to normal. The court injunction brought protesters at least a few more days in the park, but occupiers are planning for a possible showdown if they're evicted this weekend.
Yesterday we did some barricade training, legal know your rights workshop, so they're not going to be able to like basically exploit us because we have these 3 days to prepare of how we're going to defend ourselves and decide what we're going to do. So
the city and the protesters will present their cases in court Friday, with the decision to be handed down Saturday.
Occupy Wall Street protesters in New York were allowed back into Zuccotti Park on Tuesday. But a New York judge says protesters have a constitutional right to be in the park, but not camp out with their tents and sleeping bags. In Calgary, Occupy protesters' tents remain standing. The city issued a 24-hour eviction ultimatum on Tuesday, and despite Calgary police handing out several warnings, protesters are refusing to remove their tents. According to the Bylaw Services Director, refusing to remove tents will lead to tickets that require court appearances.
The Conservative government announced today that longtime Mountie Bob Paulson will be the new RCMP Commissioner. His appointment takes effect November 21st, and he replaces William Elliott, who is stepping down to take a position with the UN. Paulson worked out of Ottawa as Deputy Commissioner of Federal Policing, but spent most of his career in British Columbia. Among other things, Paulson is expected to get to the bottom of recent allegations of sexual harassment in the National Police Force.
Humber College has been named one of the top employers in the GTA, according to a MediaCorp survey. We get more from Humber News reporter Lindsay Tucci, who wanted to find out why Humber made the list.
Sonia Hoy has been working at Humber College since 2008. She works in the English department and gets to work at 8 a.m. every day. She says Humber offers more benefits than her previous employer.
I think the time off at Humber is actually more extensive than a lot of places I've been. One of the reasons, obviously, is the college does shut down around the holidays in December. So you do get that on top of the holidays that you do get.
Sonia is among the hundreds of employees hired by Humber. The college has just been named one of the top employers for 2012 by an employment magazine called MediaCorp. Humber was judged based on criteria such as workplace perks like on-site gyms and lounges, vacation time off, and training and development.
Here at Humber, there are over 1,000 employees that work at both the North and Lakeshore campuses, and many staff members say that there are definite benefits to working at the college.
Nancy Adamson in Human Resources was involved in Humber's application for the competition.
They really focused on us being able to provide top-ups for maternity leaves, both paternity and maternity leaves, and for adoptive parents.
With a variety of different jobs across campuses, Humber President John Davis says there's different opportunities for people with all kinds of skills.
We have one of the lowest turnovers of any organization. And I say when I meet people, and I meet all incoming people that are employed at Humber full-time, and I always say to them, get used to Humber because you're not leaving.
Humber also hopes to make it into the list of Canada's top employers for next year. For Humber News, I'm Lindsay Tucci.
18 people are in custody after early morning raids across the GTA. The Toronto Police conducted search warrants in Toronto, York, Durham, Hamilton, and Belleville. Police say 26 homes and businesses were targeted. Drugs including marijuana and ecstasy, as well as guns and cash, were all seized.
A fire in Barrie at a heritage barn near Airport Road has killed dozens of cows. The fire had already spread throughout the 100-year-old building by the time the firefighters arrived on scene. More than 60 cows were trapped inside and died, but no humans were hurt.
Parents in an East End Toronto neighborhood are agitating to let their kids play ball. Earl Beatty Public School has banned students from bringing footballs, soccer balls, volleyballs, and even tennis balls to school. The decision comes after a few serious incidents where students and staff members were struck or nearly struck by flying balls. Students are now only allowed to bring Nerf or sponge balls.
A new report is shedding light on drinking water conditions across Canada. Ontario passed with flying colors, but other jurisdictions aren't so lucky. The Waterproof 3 report by EcoJustice graded the provinces, territories, and the federal government. Grades are based on drinking water treatment, testing and quality standards, source protection, transparency, and accountability. Of the 14 jurisdictions, Ontario received the only A grade, and the federal government received the only F. The complete list of grades is as follows. Ontario and Nova Scotia, both ranked at the top of the list with A's. PEI, Quebec, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland and Labrador followed with B's. Alberta, BC, and the Northwest Territories received C's. Yukon and Nunavut both received D's, and the federal government got an F.
When we come back, we'll have more news from around the country and the world. Summer Ismail will have the sports news, and we'll have your weather forecast with Aaron Best.
Right now it's 10 degrees Celsius. We're halfway into November, but there's still no signs of snow. I'll have your 5-day weather forecast right after this.